Hi, I'm Evie Kenny and you're very welcome to Ecolution. Ecolution started out as a podcast from the team at RTÉ Junior Radio a full 5 seasons ago. In that time, we've explored so many subjects related to the climate crisis and the actions we take. And now we're excited to be bringing our brand of sustainability to your screens. In today's world, we spend a huge amount of time online. And it can be hard to know who to trust. With the technology available to us, it's so easy to twist a story to support a particular viewpoint or to even to make up a story that's completely untrue. So, in a world full of fake news, how do you separate the truth from the lies? Here to answer our questions is our panel of students from across the Irish Schools Sustainability Network. Hugh, Emily, Yuming and Chloe. Guys, welcome back. In this week's podcast, we found out all about disinformation and the ways that facts about the climate crisis are clouded online. Yuming, where do you find most of your information on the climate crisis and how do you know you can trust it?
Well, I read a lot of major newspapers, whether it be RTÉ, Irish Times. Mostly I fact check my information. I trust that our reporter is doing quite a good job, but I always go into the sources and click on each one and just see where all the information came from. And especially with academic papers as well, which you know that they've put the research in, cross-checking as well, of course, obviously helps as well.
Yeah, and Chloe, do you feel confident about what you're learning about the climate crisis?
Yeah, I suppose, just like you mean, I'd look at the news a lot and I'd look at, I suppose, 2 groups, the people that I've met there, what they tell me I usually trust because they are very environmentally focused, but just like that you have to kind of be aware to cross-check it. And I think having that information, having a background in environmental education and being part of different groups is useful then when you come into situations where you see something on social media and you just have to look twice and you're like, maybe this isn't what I think it is. Just like Yuming will go into each source sometimes, I'm way too lazy, I'll just look at that and I'll be like, that's a bit questionable now, and I might just move on. I think that's a big problem sometimes if you don't have that background and you see that it doesn't look as questionable and you might actually believe it.
At least you're honest, because I'm also lazy. So, Emily, where do you get the majority of your information about what's happening with our environment?
Yeah, so I suppose I get the majority of my information from, and I'm going to visit social media, but I will go and check it because you can't trust everything on social media, obviously. But I'm mainly on Instagram, and the Instagram pages that I do follow, I do trust. So I would follow the Global Goals Instagram, the Irish Schools Sustainability Network Instagram, and Green Schools on Tashka Instagrams and stuff like that. But then I'd go online, I might read a few articles on news or something, or just like Chloe was saying, from the people around me. I've learned so much here today already. We've only been here for an hour. So yeah, just in person and online.
Yeah, and Hugh, do you have any sources that you trust to tell you what's going on in the world?
I normally use things like trustable websites. Safari isn't really a not trusted website, and I don't normally use Google, but sometimes it can be trusted. I normally use them because those are the fastest way to get information. Once I was doing a school project, it wasn't really about the topic, but I found some stuff on the topic as well.
Yeah, it's just easily accessible, really.
And yeah, the trusted ones are the websites.
So that's where our panellists are finding out about the world around us. But what about others who might be more vulnerable to believing disinformation? Yuming, who do you think might be easily tricked by the false messages being put out about climate change?
I think it's mostly younger children, especially children under 12 with access to technology. In my opinion, I don't think people under 12 should have access to a phone without proper supervision from a parent, because then they can go on pages that probably isn't good for them, or they can find articles that they might believe in, but realistically they are not to be trusted, and even if they're questionable, they're at such a young and impressionable age that they wouldn't realise it either.
Yeah, and Emily, who is most at risk of believing inaccurate information?
Well, from what I can see anyway, would be the generation before us, so older generations. Just that intergenerational gap again that we talk about a lot when we talk about climate change. They might see the odd post on Facebook or something and think that's that. So I suppose older generations they can be pretty susceptible to false information, disinformation.
Yeah, they can be disconnected almost with the whole
exactly.
digital world.
Yeah.
So Hugh, are there any groups of kids or adults who you see as being easily influenced by incorrect messages about our environment?
Kind of like what you Ming said, I also think that the younger kids, like, they might be more gullible. They might believe more things that they hear. Doesn't necessarily have to be on social media. A different kid could get the wrong idea, and then they would tell it, and then they would just go on and believe that. So I think all the younger crowds should also be more aware of their sources.
Yeah, and steer clear from a young age. So, Chloe, from your perspective, who in your life might be a victim of disinformation?
I think it was really interesting how you mentioned, like, once a piece of information is taken in by a person and they'll spread it because they think it's right. I think maybe that's a big factor, so in a friend group or something like that. But I also think the older generation is a really interesting one because they've grown up kind of, and the media that they take in, they have obviously trusted because it's been newspapers and it's been the news every evening, and you take it in and you believe all of it. Because those are journalists and they're credible sources most of the time. Whereas now we've come to an age, and I think as like a generation, we're aware that most things we see on social media actually is fake. Whereas the people who are older and who see social media the same as they would regular media, like the news outlets, see all the information coming in to the same value and believe that everything coming in has to be real because it's there, it's posted, it's in front of their eyes. So I think that's a big like challenge for them because that's how they've grown up, that's how they've been raised, and I think that's definitely like the younger generation will get to come through it. They'll be less gullible as they grow up, but the older generation will obviously be exposed to more.
Yeah, so disinformation is out there, but where does it come from and how can we stop it?
I'm Killian. And I'm Paddy. And we're from Clare National School. My question is, do you have any tips on how to know if a story online is true or false?
Hugh, where's all this fake information coming from and how can we see through it?
I would normally, so if you saw it on one website, another way you can do it is if you go to a completely different website, not related, and see if it says the same thing, because if they were both lying, they probably wouldn't be about the same thing. So maybe check a different one for a full fact check.
Yeah, a cross check, very good. And Yuming, what can be done to stop the spread of false messages?
I think before you share something you learned with someone else, probably fact check it, cross check it to make sure that it really is true. Because once you pass it on to someone else, then they might pass it on to someone else, and that's how it probably gets spread most of the time.
And what about you, Chloe? What are your top tips for spotting a fake story?
I think having an awareness, AI is a big thing now. You can literally just watch YouTube videos that compare the differences between AI content and non-AI human content, and like having that awareness to whether it be videos or speeches or texts, and then to also be aware that like the people who are creating this disinformation are probably hoping to make money from it. They spread it over social media and their main aim is to get as many views as possible so that they make as much money as possible. So they will focus on horror stories, big stories that will kind of will work well with the algorithm. So like if something seems very far-fetched, you know, that's when you decide it's time to research it.
Yeah, bit of common sense. So Emily, what questions do you ask yourself when you see a story online before you trust that you're hearing the truth?
Yeah, so I suppose I'd ask myself, okay, first of all, what website am I on? What app am I on? You know, if I'm on TikTok, it probably isn't true. 9 times out of 10, if you're on TikTok, it probably isn't true. Who's telling me this information? Where is it coming from? You know, and then I just go out and I'd like look it up online, like in different websites, like he was saying, checking different websites for all of it. And what Chloe said about AI as well. Now, you know, I know on different social media apps, when something is AI, it is marked as AI. But if you're still not unsure, I'd just say, you know, don't pass it on if you're not 100% sure that the information you're passing on is true. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot to consider there when we're scrolling or looking something up online. So if we're aware of the problem, the next step's got to be, what do we do about it? Chloe, how can we change our behaviours to make sure we're not falling victim to disinformation?
I think a lot of what we just discussed is really important. Don't share it. Don't interact with that kind of information. So like the way the algorithms are built is what you interact with is what you'll see more of. So if you think something isn't true, don't press the share button, don't comment on it. Like even to comment, you know, maybe to comment this isn't true and other people will get the message, but don't like it, don't follow that creator. I think kind of not interacting with those or like continuing on, just being critical. It's very easy to like enter social media and it's kind of a rest time, and but you need to be aware that like subconsciously you're absorbing all the information that's coming in. So, you know, when it does come down to something like that, you kind of become critical and use your common sense and think, nah, that's not actually true.
Yeah. And Hugh, are there any changes you think your friends could make to help them see the truth from the lies?
I think all my friends are like as well educated as every other person is well educated. They all really know. We all know how to check. We all know what would obviously be fake. We all know.
Very good. It's good to hear that you're well informed. And Emily, how could we better protect ourselves from fake news?
I suppose, like it's just been said many times before, just check where you're getting your information from. That's like the simplest thing you can do. You know, whether it be you're trying to find out like local news or global news, check where your information is from, check where you're getting it from. Ask around as well. Other people might know, you know, if you're saying, oh, I heard this, oh, that's not true, you know. Ask around your friends, family, because they can know as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, and Yuming, do you have any tips for keeping us safe from disinformation online?
Well, obviously cross-check and fact-check, as I said. It's always helpful if you find that, I don't know, for example, you see a piece of news and then you go and research that piece of news and you find that someone did an entire paper on it and then they've got reliable sources. And so then that makes, I think, somewhat more trustworthy instead of just seeing a TikTok and go, yep, looks pretty realistic. I think that's true now. Which probably, as Emily said, 9 times out of 10, it's not.
100%. And from my own perspective, I think it's just so important to be not passively scrolling, like to really be engaged when you're looking through things and know what is wrong and what is right. So that wraps up our panel discussion for another episode. Thank you for joining us, and thanks to our fantastic panellists too. Don't forget there's bags more content that I promise is well researched, fact checked and is free of greenwashing, as you can get on the Ecolution podcast. Listen wherever you get your pods. And don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm Evie Kenny and we'll see you next time.
Ecolution.